Hello and welcome back. Just kidding. Did you vote? Our adopted pet, well, foster care right now. We'll do the adoption paperwork later. Our pet does need a name. It's in Google Classroom. Hit the form. Help me out with a name. I still prefer brown as sus. Flash is growing on me, so we'll see what the results say. Today we are working on fractions, decimals, and percents. And we are going to learn to convert between them. Now, you will often hear math teachers teach this as FDP because we do fraction, decimal, percent back and forth so many times it is unreal. What I'm going to remind you, the green folder or the green handout I gave you with those 9 magical percentage fractions and decimals, you should really memorize them, okay? But you can't always use that. Sometimes you do have to do some knowledge and some work. So I need to teach you how to convert decimal to percent. And we did it mostly on this worksheet right here. It should look familiar to you. I'm going to work some examples from that. So the first way we went is from decimal to percent. Let me back this up. I want to write in shorthand because mathematicians are always lazy. So if I had the decimal 1.46. To convert from decimal to percent, I am literally going to multiply by 100. So 1.46 multiplied by 100. Anything times 0 is 0. I have a placeholder down for my ones because I have moved and I am now multiplying tens. 0 times anything is 0. I'm going to put a placeholder down for my tens because I am now multiplying by 100s. 1 times anything is that number, therefore 1 times 6, 1 times 4, and 1 times 1. I am not done because I am multiplying with decimals. I stole my decimal 2 times. I have to give 2 back. That means the percent equivalent of 1.46 is 146%. The next way we go is the exact opposite. We are going to go from percent to decimal. So if I go from decimal to percent and I multiply, when I go from percent to decimal, I'm going to divide by 100. So let's assume I had 152%. 152% divided by 100. Well, we can do the ice cream cone. And I know that the ice cream goes inside the freezer. So 152 goes there, 100, because we don't ever put our cones in the freezer. That makes them soggy. 100 goes into 152 one time. 1 times 100 is 100. I subtract. I have 52. I am not stuck. I have decimals. I can put a decimal and the invisible zeros that go on forever over here and bring it down. If I put a decimal below the line, I must put a decimal above the line. They must stay in line. Most of the errors I've been seeing is because you put your decimals in the wrong spots. 100 goes into 520 5 times. 5 times 100 is 500. Back that on up. Change it back to the pen. 500. When I subtract that, it leaves me with 20. I have another invisible zero. 100 goes into 200 2 times. So from percent to decimal, 152%. Equals 1.52. The next header we have is from decimal to fraction. I taught you one way to do this. I didn't like the way I taught you. I will teach that way in another video where we talk about converting repeating decimals. But as long as it's not a repeating decimal, and I'm 100%, 90% confident in 7th grade, you're not going to have a repeating decimal. This will work, okay? But it requires you to think. You must do this intuitively, okay? So if I had 0.1, 0.1 would be named 1/10. Okay, so it is important that I know this. So I can take the 1, 10th, 10. So the 10 is going to go underneath. Okay, 1/10 goes 1 over 1, 0. If I had 0.12, this is 12 hundredths. Can you guess that I am going to take the 12 and then I put it over 100, just like the word says. Now, on 12 over 100, you need to remember that you can simplify this. So that simplifies by 2 down to 6 over 50. And I could simplify this by 2, divide top and bottom by 2, 3 over 25. So always make sure that you actually reduce your answers appropriately. Now, if I was to have 0.375, this is 375 thousandths. So I want you to think for a second. What would I put 375 over? If you guessed thousandths, you are correct. 375 thousandths. Now, there is one example we did not discuss. Let's assume we had 1.66. Okay, I want you to look at only the decimal portion of this. So we have 66 hundredths. Because I have 66 hundredths, I'm going to take, oops, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. Because I have 66 hundredths, I am going to put it over 100. But there are not just 66 of them. There are 166 of them. So you'll actually take that whole number, okay? And if you were to do the mixed or pull the mixed out of this, you would get 1/66 over 100, which would be correct as well if you just did the 66 hundredths. Just make sure that you get your 1 in there, okay? Now, that being said, this number needs to be reduced, okay? So make sure you reduce it. 166 divided by 2, well, 16 divided by 2 is 8, so 83 over 50. And, oh, that's actually the answer. So 83 over 50 would be your answer on that. Converting decimals to fractions, again, think intuitively. I'll do up another video here showing you how to do it mathematically as well as how to do it with repeating numbers. It's more of an algebraic thing, but we'll get there. Okay, the next thing we need to do is convert fractions to decimals. So given the fraction 45 over 25, I need to convert that to a decimal. Y'all, we've been doing this a long time, and it just hides in plain sight. This is simply division, okay? So I'm going to put 25 on the outside, 45 on the inside. How many times does 25 go into 45? Well, 1 time. 1 times 25 is 25. Now I subtract 5 minus 5 is 0, 2 that, and 2. Now I got my invisible zeros. My decimals have to go up top, bring it down, 0. How many times does 25 go into 200? Before you stop and think really hard about this, just ask yourself, how many quarters can I fit into $2? 8 times 5 is 40, carry the 2. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. So your answer, should you be asked what is the decimal equivalent of 45 over 25, it's 1.8. Okay. Converting fraction to percent. There are two ways we can work this. Okay. One is we can do decimal to percent and then actually multiply by 100, or we can set it up as a ratio table. So let's look at the consistent way. We've been doing everything else. So if I look at 2 over 10, right? Have my ice cream, have my ice cream cone. So 2 over 10, I'm going to put 10 on the outside. Oh, this pen is getting on my nerves. 10 on the outside, 2 on the inside. 10 goes into 2 0 times. I have a decimal. I have invisible zeros. Make sure you put your decimal lined up. 10 goes into 20 2 times. So my decimal is 0.2. I have divided, and I have a decimal. Now to convert decimal to percent, I multiply by 100. So 0.2 times 100. Anything times 0 is 0. There's my placeholder. 0 times anything is 0. There's my tens or my hundreds placeholder. 1 times 2 is 2. Move my decimal 1 time. So I move my decimal 1 time. And my answer would be 20%. My other option would be to set up a tic-tac-toe and look at this as a ratio. Okay, so I would have 2 over 10, right? Now, what is the percent? Percent. We always going to have percent of 100. So my third block would always be 100. And then I just cross multiply and divide. And if I cross multiply and divide, 2 times 100 is 2,000 divided by 10 is, 200. And then divide that by 10 is 20. Or I could look that I need to multiply this by 10 and get real big brain, multiply this by 10. Either way, I wind up with that other block being 20 and 20%. Tic-tac-toes work for ratios. Oh, and the last section, convert percent into a fraction. If you remember what percent means, this will be so easy. I do not believe it. Easy, okay? Percent. Cent means 100. Per means divided by. If I say 188%, I literally am saying 188 divided by 100. Oh, this pen. I need to change the shortcuts on that. Now, 188 over 100 is not the correct answer because I must reduce. Now, they're both even numbers, so I know right off the bat I can divide them both by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 8 divided by 2 is 4, so 94 over 50. I'm not done yet because I know that I can fit 2 into 94. I want to say 46. 4, 8, 1, 4. Ooh, I'm glad I double checked. 47 times 47 and 50 divided by 2. I know that one because 50 cents is 2 quarters. In this case, our fraction would be 47 divided by 25. Make sure you simplify and reduce. Please remember percent divided by 100. If you can remember that, everything else can be figured out. I have nothing else for you. Don't forget to vote for our adopted friend's name. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell whenever it pops up, wherever it pops up. I'm not sure. I just kind of make the videos and point in random directions. So I don't know. Yep. I'll see you in class tomorrow.